Welcome to our Berea Academy orientation for this upcoming school year. I like that we have a slide here because you can see the year indicating is 2020-2021, which is quite a mouthful and has been a bit of a stumble ever since we got started. But we are going to begin our evening online tonight. And I really appreciate all of you joining us in our online orientation option. We felt that this really simplified the orientation system in regards to percentages involved in buildings and participations and those sorts of things. So I thank all of you for joining us online instead of our traditional in-person. I'm very excited and I'm really looking forward to being able to finally get to see all of you in person in September, but until we get there, this is a great format for us to be able to move forward. So I'm going to be rude for just a moment to all of you, and I have a direct question for Judy Music because I'm not finding the answer at the tip of my fingers. Judy, is our meeting this evening being recorded?
Yes, it is.
Thank you. I thought so, but so she set up the meeting details for me. So I wanted to make sure, just so that you all know, we are recording our meeting this evening so that other people who are not able to attend right now can view it later. We will upload it into our YouTube channel for later viewing. If you would like to not appear on the screen, you can turn off your video so that your face or your room doesn't appear in our recording. And this is just a great opportunity for us to be able to manage all of the little details and things that we need to know for orientation. So orientation is a little bit different from some of our other events where orientation is going to be really focused on how Berea is going to function on September 2nd, 3rd, or 4th when you walk in the door and what we're looking for and those sorts of details as we move through the semester. So here at Berea, we start many of our events in prayer. And normally I would be kicking this prayer request over to Tracy Calhoun because there's just, my heart leaps with joy when I get to participate in Tracy's prayer and leadership. And this is an opportunity I'm going to take to say, hey everybody, pray for the Calhoun family. They are not going to be able to join us this evening because yesterday, very unexpectedly, the ceiling of their living room fell into their living room. Plaster and insulation and just a mess. And they're okay. No one was hurt, which is a wonderful, beautiful blessing. And we're very, very glad for that. And also Tracy is a little preoccupied with what has happened to the main part of her home. So pray for the Calhoun family. That this is something that is easily repaired and that it doesn't indicate a larger structural problem with the building, and that they can rest in peace and knowledge and knowing that repair is going to come and it won't disrupt their days any further. So that's a very specific prayer request for that. Since I have all of you in your faces, I'm also going to ask you to pray for the music family as they wrap up a little traveling they've been doing. They were able to responsibly socially distance a little trip to responsibly socially distance a relative wedding, which is a great opportunity. So we look forward to seeing them in person again next week. In the meantime, we are here for our orientation and for Berea. And this is just such an important part of what we do, is seeking God's wisdom and his word into our path forward. It's a really honorable, humbling, there's a word I want there, it's escaping me. It's such an opportunity for us to come together as a community. So, I don't know about you, but I need a deep breath. Father, I just come to you and I rest my head on your shoulder. I know how my family is right now. I know how we yearn to start classes, to get going, to be in person again, and participating in that community and finding that connection. And I also know that for as much as I yearn for that, I also yearn for one more week to get ready. I'm always a little bit behind, I feel like, on the start of something. I'm just glad that I'm so grateful that we have you to carry us. I'm so grateful for the community that you've given us here at Berea. A community full of people who care for each other, who step in, who serve others. I thank you for the provision that you've laid in our path. How clearly you've made us a testimony of obedience and provision. I thank you for teaching us how to walk faithfully. I thank you for reminding us that we walk your path in faith, not fear. And how we've been walking that path for a couple of years now. And each time, in every case, it's been about walking in faith with you. I thank you for giving this vision of Berea Academy to Judy Music, and for all the people who came around her and have made that happen. You know who all of them are. And you know where all of us are. You know our hearts are with our young people. They're with our teachers. They're with our families. They're with you. So in a very earthly way, Father, let us get through this Zoom meeting without being kicked off of our scheduled opportunity. Help us have the right words to communicate. And just pour your heart into us. Help us make the things that are important to you important to us. I thank you for this opportunity. I thank you for all of these amazing people that I get to do this with. I thank you for all of the times that we have been sharpened, all the times that we have been comforted. I thank you for your unending and enduring love and grace. It is to you and for you and with you. In Jesus' name we pray, amen. Okay, welcome back to orientation and the practical matters of our orientation. I'm going to be spending the evening flipping back and forth between my face as your host and Judy's wonderful PowerPoint presentation. She's made it very colorful and pretty, so I want to definitely take advantage of that for you. We've gotten through our opening prayer and our welcome, and now, if I can get the buttons to click, there we go. I often am asked, what is exactly Berea Academy? And Judy's highlighted a few things here, that we are a homeschool hybrid. What does that mean? We are actively serving our homeschool community, where we are offering a traditional classroom experience to that homeschooling family without replacing homeschooling. We view every homeschool family as our partner in this journey. As an organization, we view that as one of the key ways that we approach and deal with and love on our community. Also, the government doesn't view us as a school, though we are viewed as an organization. As far as the government is concerned, you are not going to a private school. You are still continuing to homeschool your student. We also are college prep, and we firmly believe that every student is on their own journey. For some students, that is a college destination. For some, it is a trade or an internship. And those are amazingly varied and beautiful experiences. We refer to ourselves as college preparatory because we focus on an academically rigorous program where your students are going to be met where they are and matured and grown through 2 new steps. They're going to grow in their personal responsibilities and their ability to manage their time, in their academic understandings as well. We're very community focused, and as a result, we see your student as a whole person, not just as an English student or a math student. That a student is an entire individual, and that individual has a spiritual part and a brain part and a physical body part. And we want to help them balance in all of those ways. And the only way that we are remotely successful at being able to do that is if we approach all opportunities in grace. Grace is the thing that makes the world go round, honestly. And through grace and seeking God's wisdom and in hearing that leading of the Spirit, we're able to meet every student in their place. And we are able to see them as individuals, and we are able to help them step into their next steps. And that honestly is a beautiful thing, and it's a humbling thing. And you've got some wonderful teachers who are all excited to partner with you in that way. So that's what we are. Hopefully that's a review for most of you, and not brand new news. But here we are. This is part of how we're unique. I already mentioned the mind, body, soul, and spirit, which Judy summarizes better than I do usually. Our AP courses, which allows for college credit during high school, is part of that college preparatory option. It's not required. It is an option available to others. I'm skipping a little line. I'll come back. Don't worry. We do have our study hall options, which our study hall program is very unique to our particular organization. It is that if a student is on campus and they're not in an assigned class, they are in a study hall. Now, perhaps that study hall, if your student is in the 4th, 5th grade and they're there on Thursday at 12:30, they're specifically planning on a recess time. It could be that your student needs to arrive at 10 o'clock, but their class doesn't start until 10:30. And so they'll have a study hall time at that point as well. And we do this to maintain order on campus. Knowing where the student is supposed to be and which adult is supposed to be monitoring that student is an important part of just making sure that everything runs really smoothly. And the study hall can be a way that students can really do what is necessary. So as a parent, we invite all of you. You'll be getting contact information for those study hall monitors. And we invite all of you to talk to the study hall monitor about what it is you as a parent, as your homeschooling leader, would like your student to do during that time. And it's really open to what you prefer. We have some students who will be on computers with headphones or earbuds is much more common, reviewing video lessons in other subjects. We have some students who have a cell phone out with earbuds because their parents say, I need them to relax. Music is very important to them. And they'll just sit back and listen to a relaxing track for a while. Honestly, one year we had one student whose parents said, she is so busy and she works so hard. If she could nap, that would be great. And she did. And that's fine. We really want, and in addition to that, the study hall monitor will also help your student in whatever way you need them to the best of their ability. And if they can't help them in the way that you need, they will connect them to the right person to make that happen. So it's really an all-encompassing program that supports students being on campus, but outside of the official classroom experience at that time. All righty, we are going back over here. I talked about our study hall options. Our tutoring program is an opportunity for families and students to engage in a specialty subject, whether it is a handful of tutoring sessions or over the course of a semester. If you have questions specifically about the tutoring program, I encourage you to email us directly at bereaacademystl@gmail.com. That's the official email address. You'll be getting it throughout the evening. And then last year we were able to offer, this previous year, our high school graduation. We had offered it in the past and we didn't have any interest. This particular year we had 9 graduates who took the stage socially distant, and we were able to, we had some amazing a keynote speaker and then some student speakers. It was really just such an experience to be able to see them moving into the next phase of their lives. We also have in the past had an event called the Spring Showcase, which we are praying to bring back for the 2021 school year. It is an event where the students really get to strut their stuff at the end of the semester, end of the year, really. We've traditionally had an art gallery where we've hung and displayed art, photography, fine art on the walls. We've had a silent auction. The students do performances, whether it's a stage performance or a dramatic reading from literature class. It has been one of my favorite things to participate with at Berea. And unfortunately, our 2019-2020 Spring Showcase ended up having to be canceled because of the restrictions for COVID. And we are praying that we're bringing that back because it is such a great opportunity for the students to really show the whole community how hard they've been working and what they've achieved. It's such a great night. So we, at the moment, have that on our calendar as an in-person date, and we are praying to be able to honor that as we get into the year. One of the other things that's changed for this upcoming year is in the past, we've had a monthly chapel event on the second Thursday of each month. This year, at the moment, for this fall semester, because of the restrictions related to gatherings and the number of people who can gather in a certain place, we are not hosting an official chapel. However, we do have a number of teachers and students who are going to be involved in creating a chapel experience that will be then made available on our YouTube channel. And we'll be encouraging our students to seek that out on a regular basis. We hope in the spring semester, we're praying to be able to bring that back because there's something unique and wonderful about being able to worship together and really hear his message in that format. It's always an optional attendance. Students who do not want to go to chapel for any reason whatsoever are able to go to lunch early. It's not a hard line. It's something that we provide and do not require. One of the things I skipped was encouraging student leadership with active participation at the Academy. And the reason I did is because I'm going to use that as a transition momentarily. But it's one of the things that we really like to do at our Academy is see where young people desire to grow in service and in skill, and then coach them through that process, provide the framework for success. So one of our exciting things that we can do sorry, we have had a slight technical difficulty there. One of the things that we did last year is that we had a student volunteer who spent every Tuesday from 12 until 12:45 with a group of young people monitoring and managing their lunchtime and then an active recess time. This lovely young woman, Abby O'Brien, is actually going to be returning to Berea this year, both as a student and as a teacher. That group of students, she's going to be offering a specific class in movement with music, and it's such a great opportunity. Her leadership in that class environment, that volunteer position, was really, really encouraging. And so we are connecting with her in that way to help her grow her skills. In addition to that, our students have a lot of volunteer opportunities throughout the academy. Because we rent our building and it's not set up as a traditional school or classroom, there's a lot of materials that move. They start out the week in storage in a corner of the building, and then they get brought out and dispersed throughout the building, shifted depending on needs, and then all put back in again at the end of the week. And if it was just one or two people, the burden would be very, very high. But we have a great opportunity for those students to come into that situation and help pack things up, put things away. Usually on Thursday evenings, there's a pack of Berea students who just move from room to room to room to make sure that everything is picked up and put away and we're ready to lock the doors. And it's an opportunity for service that not necessarily all students have, whether in their home or their communities or in their church environments. And that sort of investment is really important to growing their connection for community in general. And I'm skipping a slide. I'll come back, Judy, don't worry. I'm going to go to who we are because here's my transition moment. Let me share this with you. Who we are is a group of teachers and parents and students, and Mrs. Music has put together this slide for you to highlight a few faces. You can see Mrs. Music and I right here in her wonderful paperclip earrings. They're some of my favorites. And I wanted to take a moment and say hi to Clara and to Ariana. And these are two of our students or just graduated students who are going to be coming into Berea in a teacher sort of capacity. Clara and Ariana are both going to be working in a capacity for Berea that involves classroom and campus management. In the past, if you've been with us before, you're familiar with the campus liaison position, where the liaison has been the person who has been kind of the one to go to. If you have a question, she's the one who knows where everything goes. She's like the short answer person. And if she doesn't know, she knows who does know, and she can direct you that way. In light of the needs related to COVID and the changing campus situation, we have actually adjusted that liaison position. And now we're kind of functioning with two different subsets of those positions. One of them is going to be a door monitor type situation. It's not so much someone standing over there opening the door for you, but we will have someone at the door to help facilitate using the proper entrances and exits, making sure that everyone is ready to walk into the building, making sure everyone knows where they're going, that sort of situation. And that job is going to be split this year between, let me flip back over, and somehow I did that. Oh, I don't know what page I'm on. Mrs. Music, what did I do? All right, I'll figure that out. And while I'm figuring that out, you get to look at my face instead. So here we are. Accidental button presses. All right, so Ariana is going to be our door individual for one of our days on campus. She will be able to greet you and your students and help facilitate your entry and exit onto the campus. And then our other day, this lovely woman here, you guys might have seen on campus. She's connected to the Jackson family. Are you here with us today I've lost my...
She's actually working tonight.
Lisa, do you want to introduce her for us?
Well, this is my mom, Joyce Casti. She's retired. She works at a nursing home at the reception desk once a week in the evening, and she is beyond thrilled to be on campus. She has caught the Berea fever, I'd like to say. And we'll be excited to be with her grandkids, and I'll be up there as well too. So we're excited to have her.
I'm excited too. I got to meet Joyce last year when she and a few other family members were able to attend for a presentation, an oral presentation in history class. And I had a wonderful conversation with her. And I'm very excited that she's joining our organization to be part of that welcome face to help facilitate that enter and exit, as I mentioned. The other part of the role, Claire Music is going to fill, actually. Claire is taking on a sort of whole umbrella of activities for this role. We've been sort of calling her the building manager situation. She's going to be the person who knows where everything goes, who needs the tech needs. She's going to be, you know, helping out those extra classroom situations. And so essentially, Ariana and Joyce are going to be tied to the door, and Clara is going to be just the person to jump in and help in on the spot. And so it'll be a little bit different from what you've seen in the past. And also, we believe that this is a great way for you to better serve our community throughout this situation. In addition to those positions and those changes, there's a few other faces we have up here. This is Miss Tracy Calhoun that I mentioned will not be joining us tonight. She is going to be just doing some study hall work for us, and also she would very much want me to share this with you. We offer an adult discipleship program at Berea Academy. It is free. It is on Thursdays. The book is $25, but if that's a hardship, please let us know, because we don't want that to be an obstacle. And Tracy is going to be leading those classes. There will be 3 different classes on Thursday, one at 10 o'clock, one at 12:30, and one at 2:30. And if you would like to participate in that, just drop us a note. Again, it's bereaacademystl@gmail.com. And we would love to have you into that group. Tracy is just a fabulous leader. And I've always told people about Tracy that she cannot hide her light because it shines so bright. There are times I just want to stand next to her so that I can feel the warmth of her light on my face. And she's a humble, straightforward woman who will encourage you and also call you out when you need it and also help you grow. And she would love to talk with you more about that discipleship program. But she's also going to be taking over some study halls for us this year, which I think is a great opportunity as well. And then the last picture we have here is of Miss Brandy. Here we are. This is a beautiful picture of Miss Brandy Hicks. And she's joining us as a new teacher this year as well. All right. Trying to move on quickly a little bit. We do have a board of directors here at Berea Academy. Quick explanation of our administration. Judy is our executive director. God gave her the vision for Berea Academy originally, and it is really her responsibility to hold us to that vision and to pursue that vision. And she does an amazing job at it. And I am so grateful for that, because I am not typically the kind of person that can hold a vision myself. And so I rely heavily on her to take that in. And she has done such a wonderful job and continues to do so. I function as our director of operations. I kind of make things go, look at the nuts and bolts of things, and kind of puzzle things together. I also know a lot of answers to a lot of different questions. And then Tracy Calhoun has been working with us regarding our accounting and invoicing. We feel that the third really helps Judy and I remain accountable in many different ways. And like I said, Tracy's that straightforward person who is going to just bring you wisdom, whether you really want to hear it or not. She's going to speak that wisdom to you. But that runs the day-to-day show. In addition to that, we have a board of directors comprised of teachers, parents, community members who may or may not homeschool or have anything to do with schooling. And it's a 10-member board, and that board deals with the long-term health and wellness of our academy. And our board meetings are open to the public. Our meeting notes are available to anyone who would like to read them. And if you would like to attend or review those notes, please drop me an email at that bereaacademystl address, and I will be happy to make that available to you. Our goal is transparent and honest in our dealings with all of these things. And in a moment of transparency, I just want to share with you that 2 years ago, our board of directors made a decision to create a rainy day fund. And I'll tell you, it was hard. We tightened our belts, a belt I didn't think could get any tighter. And we put that money away. And because we did that, we were able to commit to all of you for starting in person this year, because I knew 100%, Judy knew 100%, we have the rent money. And that's a huge factor that, as a family managing finances, being able to pay those bills is always such a stress. And knowing that if our normal source of income wasn't enough, we had that was really an important part of being able to move forward this year. And that's just one of the little things, a huge little thing that the board of directors manages throughout the year. If you have any interest in serving on our board of directors, email me. We'd love to have you. Okay, so I've skipped a few things around on Judy's PowerPoint. Thanks for your patience with that. I know that there's a bunch of things you guys want to know. My number one question that I probably get is about COVID policies and what that looks like. So this slide very neatly highlights some COVID and outdoors and lunchtime and construction and campus screening. Let me get all of that to you in one big chunk. You may know that last week, the St. Louis County issued new guidelines for COVID-related issues. Those went into effect today. Our Berea Academy, our host location, is located in the St. Louis County jurisdiction. And so we view that government leadership as having some wisdom and some, I hate to say sway, it's not the right word. I probably should have thought this out ahead of time. We want to, as an organization, we believe it is our Christian responsibility to appropriately uphold civil law and guidelines. And so we're doing our best to do that. In addition to that, we are also working with Southgate, our host church. They came to us last month and said very, very clearly, 100%, they were committed to having Berea Academy and Berea Academy students on campus in person. One of the reasons that I love being at Southgate Church is because the leadership there at that organization has such a heart for the youth, and it comes through in everything that they do and in every way that they interact with us. And so they reaffirmed their commitment to allowing us to be in the building. At the same time, they are working to make sure that they are providing in-person services to their church congregation. And that's an amazingly important thing as well. So what we're navigating is how Berea Academy community and the church community can successfully share the building space in relation to COVID policies, cleanings, all of that. Many of you might be familiar with the fact that construction has been going on at the Southgate campus for a while now. And if you haven't, you're in for a big shock when you get to campus next week. They've been building a gymnasium in the back of on the back side of the building. It's amazing. I got to see it the other day, and it just looks fabulous. It's going to be a huge part of their youth ministry when it is completed. And so that also, you might want to make a little mental note, parents. They're looking at, adding some upwards school program or upwards sports programming in their gymnasium, as well as adding some children's camps during the year outside of the summer schedule. So that is going to be impacting us this year. Our current plan for your arrival and in the building is that you're going to come to the front door where the main church entry is, and you're going to enter. There are two sets of double doors. That's how I want to say that. And you're going to enter through one set. It'll clearly say entrance, and you're going to enter through there. And then at the end of the day, when you're ready to leave, you will exit through the other side. So this is our way of creating a dedicated entry and exit, but it's still going to be under that nice little awning in the front of the building. And at some point, possibly November, construction is going to be shifting on campus, and it might change where your student is in class, how we're accessing those spaces, those sorts of situations. And we'll keep you updated on that as it develops. Your teachers will be in contact with you if we have to reassign a classroom. We will also let you know things that are important like that through MailChimp, our announcements, and through our Facebook page. So they are hoping that the gym will be finished by the end of September, which will be really exciting. We don't have any classes planned in the gym this year. However, if it is complete, it'll be a great opportunity for us to overflow into it as it gets cold outside. Because one of the things that we really are trying to do is provide our students an opportunity to have class outdoors. Now, we've been reading very carefully the COVID guidelines for the county organizations. We have a wonderful family that's joined us this year, and a shout out to Kim Mathis, who is on our call. She professionally goes through, and she's an attorney who does COVID response planning, and she has blessed us with some wonderful knowledge and guidance in how to move forward during this time. And I'm very grateful to have that help and assurance as we move forward. And so at this time, our current policies are a tiny bit in flux. We issued an official policy. Children ages 9 and up are encouraged to wear a mask as they move through the building, but are able to remove their mask at their seat. Due to the new guidelines, we believe that students of all ages will need to wear a face covering while they are inside the building. The exceptions being if your student has a medical or sensory obstacle to having a face covering on. And at that point, we just need to document it as simple as the teacher makes a note that says the student is unable to wear a face covering. We are not going to ask you for your medical reasons. We are not going to inquire about them. And we are working to finalize all the details of that. Again, that's something that we will get down on the point of it and get back to you on exactly. We have acquired, I had to think for a minute, they have arrived. For the teachers who will be remaining masked throughout the day, we have acquired a product called the Humanity Shield, where it combines the best of the shield factor, where you can see the teacher's entire face, with the safety of a mask, because the bottom of the shield has a skirting on it that keeps all those personal droplets to yourself instead of flying about the room. And so teachers are going to be able to take advantage of that. Again, for various medical exceptions, not all teachers will be able to use that resource. And your teachers should be in touch with you about specific mask needs in their classrooms. We do have some teachers who have various medical issues or live with people who have medical exceptions to this whole situation. And we just ask that you be sensitive to their needs as well. We as an organization are approaching the face covering question as an opportunity for service. because I cannot see any individual and understand that they have a medical need or vulnerability. And for me, wearing a face covering is not harmful. I don't have a medical need for one for an exception. So for me, wearing a face covering is an act of service to someone else. And we just encourage you that if you are in that position where you are able to remain covered without causing harm, that you consider doing so. And then if you have any further questions about that, please drop us a note or talk with your teachers directly. And we'll get that final wording about requirements to you as soon as possible. Okay. I feel a couple of things. I mentioned going outside, because when you go outside, everything is different. And so we are actually working hard to try to move classes outside as much as possible. And to that end, we are looking at various places on the grounds that have an opportunity for a class to gather. We're also looking at things like, are students, do they need a desk or not? Because some of these classes frankly don't need one, like music and movement doesn't need a desk. My American history class, they actually won't need desks. They won't be taking notes throughout the course. And so we're looking at all those different factors, and then we're looking at creating a location outside for them to go to, so that they can, first of all, soak up some sunshine, hopefully. But then also, when the guidelines indicate that if a student is 6 feet away and outside, face coverings can be removed without any difficulties. And that's an opportunity we want to provide as much as possible. Of course, there'll be some classes, I don't know, like chemistry, that probably won't transition well to an outdoor setting. But we're very thankful for the opportunity to continue to meet in person in spite of these particular obstacles. One of the sad things I have to say is that we will not be able to use the playground equipment on campus at this time. We can be outside and we can use the grounds. There's a huge soccer field out back. We're going to be engaging some of the students in what they call parallel play, where maybe everyone gets a hula hoop or things like soccer, so we're not touching stuff with our hands. But at this time, the regulations at Southgate prevent us from being able to use the actual playground equipment. We pray that that will change and change soon. And we pray too that the gymnasium will be a place that we'll be able to engage in when the weather gets rough, and that even, because he's a big God, by the time the weather gets rough, our regulations will have eased. Okay, so those were a lot of big things. The last big thing on my list related to all of that is the campus screening. And frankly, when we say screening, most everyone I know gets a little bit concerned, which I understand. We are going to be reminding you throughout the day or throughout the year that we're asking you to stay home if you're sick, which is something homeschoolers are really good at. And I'm very grateful for that. Remember that if your student is ill, they can stay home, just communicate with the teacher. Some of our classrooms will have the ability to live stream the classroom experience to your student at home. So if they're not well but not bedridden, they could actually sign in and have that live stream experience and not miss class time. Mrs. Hogan's biology classes are going to have an online catch-up opportunity, which is going to be really fabulous. So there's a variety of different ways that classes are meeting that need for students to really allow them to stay home if they're not feeling well. So we're going to be reminding you of that. We're going to be reminding you of the various symptoms of COVID. You know, if you have these things, please stay home. Yes, we understand some people always have a runny nose. That's just their normal state of being. I have one child who gets a fever when he stubs his toe. So you know your children, and you know if it's allergies or if it's not. And so we're trusting our families to do that. There is a screening app that we encourage you to take advantage of. We are not going to be downloading your data. We are not going to be keeping that record. We are asking you guys and trusting all of you to move forward in that screening appropriately. Your door monitor may be saying things like, hey, have you screened today? Or some other particularly lame thing. I'm sure my daughter thinks I'm very lame. Oh, by the way, side note, Ariana, our door monitor on Wednesday, is my daughter. So anyway, we're going to be, you'll be hearing those things. We have to have a sign out front. We have to have 2 signs out front. One of them indicating that masks are required. The second one indicating the symptoms of COVID. And something simple, simply saying, if you have these symptoms, please go home. And like I said, homeschoolers are really good at deciding they're sick and they should keep their germs to themselves. It's one of the things I love about us. Okay. Everyone take a breath. We've been at this for a while. You're doing a great job. Thank you for hanging in there with me for this whole time. We're getting there. A couple of things. Recess on Thursdays. I mentioned this. If your student is in a 12:30 Thursday study hall, we're going to provide them with a specific guidance to go outside. Sometimes you could just take an afternoon constitutional, a little walk. Some of the students just hang out in the sun. Some of the students stretch out in the grass. The younger students will actually have a structured time with a specific Berea teacher outside of the main group. One of the I totally thought I was sharing a screen with you all that time, and I wasn't. Okay, our K-3 students are part of what is defined as an age cohort. And as such, they actually will be having lunch together and recess together. And your wonderful teachers in that program have taken that responsibility, where one teacher is going to take the group for lunch while their partner goes and eats, and then the other teacher is going to take the group for recess while their partner then has their lunch. And it's a wonderful opportunity on Thursdays for the students to be well managed and well cared for, and also remain within that age cohort. The 4th and 5th graders are going to be in a similar situation where they're going to be lunching together rather than in the main cafeteria. And that is because in the main cafeteria, we're going to be spacing those tables all over the room. We're going to be asking family groups to stay together. We're going to be, kicking the student, not kicking literally, but asking the students to go outside and enjoy their lunches outside should they desire to. It's just going to be a little bit different of a setup. The cafeteria where we normally have our lunch opportunity is also going to double as our study hall time space, and that'll be the same thing for study halls, where the students will be spread out, encouraged to stay within their family unit, or masking so that they can visit with someone else. Okay, so that's recess on Thursdays. Let me see if I can successfully share my screen with you this time and click all the buttons. There we go. Oh gosh, I hope I am making some kind of sense in all of this. We do have a family first approach to our organization, and that means that if you have a family need, we want to do what we can to meet that need. So if you have a family member who's ill, we want to support you in that. That's part of our live streaming option. Perhaps someone in your home, perhaps the student isn't ill, but someone else in your home is. And then your student could choose to stay home and isolate while still participating in classes. We've always had a family first program. That includes the administration and teachers and all of that having a family first approach as well. And so you'll find little things like I personally try really hard to not do Berea work on Saturday and Sunday. Even when it is the end of enrollment and the semester's coming and everything seems like it's going to be too much, I still try to take those days off. And we encourage you to do the same. Boundaries are a healthy, good thing for every family. Okay, now underneath our confusion here, we have our spring break and Easter break. So you heard that right. There is a spring break and an Easter break. So like last year, we are taking 2 different weeks in the spring semester for a break. For the fall semester, you'll have the week of Thanksgiving off. For the spring semester, we have an early break in the year at the end of February, early break in the semester at the end of February. We call it, I wish it was spring break, because it's really not all that pretty and nice out yet. But we choose to take that week off because frankly, January and February are a slog. And by the time we get to that end, our students are tired, our teachers are tired, our families are tired. And being able to have that week to refresh is so important. And also then we take Easter week off. It is the week preceding the Easter holiday. So because many of our families are involved in ministries related to their church, or if they're not involved in regular ministries, there's a special Easter ministry that they get involved with. And it gives them the freedom to serve without the additional burden of their classes with us. So I have a note here that Mrs. Music would like to chime in with something. So Judy, if you want to hop on here, that would be great.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. I was listening to the COVID policy and watching my texts, multitasking, and Kim Mathis, who is the Berea mom who is helping us pour through all of this, had a comment to make about the health screening that will be required. And yes, we are asking the families to self-screen at home using the screening app, but also she says that schools have to implement a health screening for all students. And what that means is it looks like the door monitor will be taking temperatures when the students are on their way in the door in the morning. And if you would like Kim to comment on that, she is on the call and she said she would be willing to give the legal details as to why that's happening.
Well, I just, what's required for schools is that they have to have a screening procedure in place. The app is good enough, but I think what I heard was something about how if your student tends to run a fever with allergies and that kind of thing, then it would be okay for a parent to exercise judgment that this is not COVID. And that I think would not pass what the county would require. And again, I just don't want the county to come in and, you know, sometimes they like to make a big deal about organizations that are a little different. And so we don't want that to happen here. And so I think most schools are taking temperatures at the door. We can do that, or at least parents will have to answer the app. You know, they have to put the temperatures into the app. And that's what some schools are doing, where you have to take your temperature in the morning and enter it. But I think if the child does have a temperature, that would preclude attendance that day. So I just wanted to make that clear, that if a parent felt that, oh, this is just a fever and I'm not concerned that they don't pass the screening, that wouldn't work out, I don't think. So.
I appreciate that clarification because I misspoke a little bit, and it is included in our general handbook policies that students with a fever are to stay home until they've been 24 hours fever free. That's been part of our policy since our founding in 2017. So Judy and Kim, thank you for helping me be a little more clear in my presentation.
Oh, well, Judy had texted me, and so I had said, well, you know, as long as, I mean, we're required to have a screening process in place. So it's going to have to be something that looks like more than just your standard, you know, run-of-the-mill, don't send your kid to school if they're sick. So we're going to have something. And it sounds like the app will probably work. You know, I've already gone out and bought a couple thermometers because my kids all have to take temperatures to go everywhere. I have to record it in their thing in the morning. So anyway, thanks. You're doing a great.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. So speaking of, I mentioned the student handbook, and yeah, we've always had a sick policy in there, and in addition to that sick policy, we're going to be adding our COVID policy there, and we will be making adjustments as needed and as we go throughout the year. Unfortunately, at the moment, the student handbook has not been fully updated for the 2020-2021 school year, although it will be. Last year's version is available online. We are going to be finalizing all those details and getting them to you. We also will be creating an annual information form, and it'll come to you via email and a jot form similar to the enrollment form that you used to get into classes. And we're just going to ask you to fill in some specific details about your student, emergency contact information, providing the names of people who are additionally allowed to pick them up from campus besides you. If they're a teenager who drives, are they allowed to leave campus throughout the day when they're not in class? Little things like that that are all going to be included. We ask this information from everyone so that we can put it in a single location that our campus management team will have access to. And this is just really for everyone's safety and well-being throughout the semester and through the whole year. In addition to all of that, we also use an online grading system called ThinkWave. If you are a returning parent, you may have a little familiarity with that. If you're new, it's a system that you can log into to see your students' progress in their classes. It's also a way that students can upload assignments to their teachers, and more teachers will be taking advantage of that option this year, because we're trying to minimize the number of pieces of paper that are passed around the various rooms and classes. And it's an opportunity, it's a really easy way for a parent to log into the program and see how things are going. For any student that has their own email address, we can also provide them with student access, and that'll allow them access to seeing their own personal classroom and gradebook. As a parent, you'll have access to all of your students enrolled in the program. At the moment, that is all turned off. It'll be turned on Monday on September 1st so that you guys can begin logging in. But until the semester starts, it's not a feature you can access until then. We'll be sending out email invitations to the program. It does not come from Berea. It comes from the provider, ThinkWave. And you'll get an access number and everything. You'll click the buttons and get yourself enrolled in that as an option so that you can keep an eye on how the grading is going. Communicate easily with your teacher, with your student's teacher. We revamped the website, which I must admit has stalled halfway through. And I apologize for that delay. For those of you who have been chatting with me in the last month, you may know that my family made a radical decision and jumped into putting our house on the market. And since my husband was the one who was in the middle of revamping our website, it has stalled a little bit in favor of things like painting and repairing things as we get through this process. So it has been updated and it continues to be updated. The music family has become experts at updating our website for various things. And we continue to work through that. We also have a YouTube channel that teachers post different videos on. Last year, the students posted videos to it. It was a lot of fun, and we will continue to utilize that for next year. The last thing on this little slide right here, let me get back to our share screen here, is our payment options and policies. You should have already received that information, and if you have not, please contact us directly. Many of you have made your payments, and for that we are appreciative. We did ask you to consider holding your payment until the end of August when we knew for certain that we were starting in person, and we can tell you 100% confidently we are starting in person. September 2nd on Tuesday, 10 o'clock in the morning, the doors will open for you to attend. And I'm looking forward to that. And so we ask that you can go ahead and complete those payments so that your students can begin classes on Tuesday. If you have any questions about that, again, it's bereaacademystl@gmail.com. Okay, what should you be doing? This is a screen share, because frankly, I need to read this too. As a mom, I'm behind. Okay, so we need to read the student handbook and code of conduct. You can read the current version and we'll highlight some updates as they come out. Class enrollment closes today. We do that so that our teachers have the opportunity to finalize their rosters and get in touch with their students. It gives our teachers the opportunity to just really settle in and be ready to start class next week. Fill out your annual information form, which hasn't yet been created, but will be, and will come to you via email. Purchase your curriculum. Your curriculum listing should be in the course catalog or can be provided by your teacher. If you do not know how to contact your teacher, you can email our main account, and I will put you in contact with them. Also look at our school supply list. Okay, so I'm going to turn this off for a second because this is new. Here at Berea Academy, we have never had a student supply list. We've had curriculum, we've had teachers recommend a 3-ring binder, but we've never had the traditional everybody buy a box of Kleenex or a bottle of glue kind of supply list. That's different this year. And COVID is the biggest reason. So what we're trying to do this year is minimize the supplies that students are sharing inside the classroom space. And to do that, we are going to be asking you to provide some supplies to be kept on campus. We are providing an opportunity for them to store those on campus, which I'm going to let Judy talk a little bit to you about because it's really been her project and she's been managing it for me.
Thanks, Beth. So every student who is enrolled in classes is going to have a drawstring backpack, and it is going to be personalized with the student's name on it. I believe it's 14 inches by 17 inches. So it should be large enough to hold all of the supplies that they are supposed to keep on campus. It does not replace their school backpack because their textbooks and spiral binders and things that need to take home for homework should still be going home. But this drawstring backpack is for their rulers, their pens, their pencils, if they have Kleenex, if they want to leave their face mask or face shield on campus, whatever it is that they would like to leave on campus. We will have a large t-shirt portable closet type thing right towards the front entrance, and there will be hooks, and the door monitor will help the student locate their pack in the morning and then sanitize it and return it in the afternoon. And one of the reasons why we want to make sure that you know very clearly what is happening with COVID is because if you have a problem with the new regulations that came out from St. Louis County on Friday, and you think it will be impossible for your child to wear a face covering, whether that be a mask or a shield, and you don't think that you might qualify for the medical exemption or the sensory exception, we need to know that quickly, because we don't want to order a backpack that has your child's name on it if your child is not going to be on campus. So although payment is not due until the 28th, if anything you have heard tonight sends up the red flag alert for your family and makes you feel like, oh no, this is really problematic, I don't think we can do this, make sure you contact us soon, because we would like to have these personalized drawstring backpacks ready and available for the students to use next week. But obviously the embroidery company that is personalizing all of them is very, very anxious to get their order in line. So anything your student needs to leave on campus, they will be able to leave on campus. Nobody will be touching that drawstring backpack except the student and perhaps the door monitor to assist, but the door monitor will be sanitizing before and after they touch it. And it's a great way for your student to not have to worry about forgetting something at home. Everything will be safe and secure on campus.
I don't know about you, but as a parent, I'm actually excited about my student having storage on campus for some of these things. The number of things we randomly forget when we're leaving in the morning is really sometimes mind-boggling, actually. So I'm excited about that option, and I'm grateful to Judy for putting that together and for our provision that we have to make it work. Okay, so that's the school supply list. I've mentioned talking to your teachers. If you have questions, you just want to say hello, whatever you want to. Maybe you want to share a little bit about your particular student with your teacher. We encourage you, reach out to them, talk to them. Every teacher involved in our organization is passionate about investing in their students. And that is one thing that has been absolutely amazing to me across the board. And while it's so true that not all the people can do all the things, when you start working in community and you start seeing that, these teachers have a responsibility that they take very seriously to invest in your students. And we do see you as partners. So I encourage you, reach out to your teachers, chat with them. Maybe there's something about your particular student you'd like them to know before class or during the semester. We do have scheduled parent-teacher conferences. We aren't exactly sure what that looks like yet. Traditionally, we've held them in person. We might need to make a shift, but those are scheduled for November and also then in March. However, at any time that you need to meet with your teacher, whether it is by phone or online or in person, the teacher is open to that opportunity. So the only thing that's very different from our previous approach, parents have been welcome to observe classrooms in the past, as long as they provide us a little bit of notice so that we can make sure that the appropriate provision is there for them, whether it's, a chair or whatever, timing, things like that. Just to kind of occasionally visit and make sure that the class is what they were expecting it to be. However, this particular year, there will be some classes where that will not be possible in a regular traditional way because of the classroom size limit that we have regarding capacities and distancing. And so if you do want to visit a class, please email us so that we can make arrangements to make it possible. If we need to move them to a different room to provide more space, whatever that takes, we will do for you, but we need to know in advance so that we can get all those puzzles moving in the right direction. All right, we were able to host a tour evening. Gosh, was that just last week? It was an amazing night. I spent the evening sitting in a chair because my arthritis was really bothering me, and this amazing community of teachers and organizers made it all happen. It was fabulous. And I loved it a lot. However, not everyone was able to make that evening commitment. And if you would like a tour, just drop us a note. There's a couple of families that I've been working with to get a tour scheduled. When possible, I'm scheduling the tour actually with your teacher so that if you haven't met them, you can. But we are working through all of those details. And if you would like a tour, just let me know. We are looking at providing your individual schedules for you as well. And the system, the ThinkWave system I traditionally use to generate all that information has a glitch in it at the moment. I'm sure I've actually created the glitch, but I have not figured out yet how to undo it. And so creating those schedules, personalized schedules, is a little more challenging this year than it has been in the past. And normally you would have that information by now, and we're working very hard to get it to you as soon as possible. And then consider introducing yourself to a new family here at Berea. Whether you've been a homeschooling veteran or you're new to the program, or the Berea program, new to homeschooling, whatever your background is, the thing is that we just all appreciate getting to know everyone. And while I'm getting much better at recognizing people from, this up, it's still really good to get to know each and every one of you. So I encourage you to consider how you can do that. And lastly, one of the questions that Judy Music has given us here and on this slide is consider, what is your contribution at Berea Academy? That is both a difficult question and a complicated one or a simplified one, depending on the moment. We believe that every member of our community is a valuable member. And it is maybe your contribution at that time is getting your student to class on time. And that's one that we really appreciate. Late arrivals are very disruptive. But maybe you also have something different. Maybe you have a Wednesday afternoon that you could spend on campus for one reason or another, in one way or another. One of the things that we provide here at Berea is a substitute teacher program, where if the teacher is unable to lead their class, we continue to host class with a substitute so that they can still have a meaningful class experience. You as a parent are expecting that class to happen, and so we want to make that work. We are always looking to add to our list of substitute teachers. And if you have any interest in that, drop us a note and we can talk with you about what those requirements look like. Everyone does a background check. And then we keep emergency plans on campus for each class that you can pick up and walk into the classroom with. And it can be a really rewarding experience. So in keeping with that, one of the things that does happen in a normal year for every school and every organization is snow days. And your kids are probably like mine, sitting around looking at the weather and hoping and crossing their fingers that school's going to be called off. After wrestling with a bit of how to manage a snow day cancellation in our schedule, our current policy is that up to 2 snow cancellations of the same class day will just be absorbed into the schedule. So for example, if we cancel on a Thursday in November and then we have to cancel again on a Thursday in January, we're just going to absorb those. But if we cancel a Thursday in March, then we have to tack on a day and make it up. But if we were to do a Thursday in November and a Thursday in January, but then a Tuesday in March, we would still be absorbing that because your particular class was able to meet that week. So what we found, the reason that we do this is because we found as much as parents and kids sometimes love that snow day cancellation, nobody likes the makeup day. It disrupts teacher schedules, it disrupts family schedules. Nobody wants to make it up, me included as a mom. I want to know when my vacations can happen. I want to plan all that. And so this is why we went into this opportunity, is to make sure that we can honor the schedule as best as we can. It is possible. We are looking at the question of what if we do online learning instead of in-person learning for a snow day. That is a possibility. There are also some obstacles related to that, such as trying to quickly pivot on, maybe a half an hour or an hour before class is supposed to start to an online format can be very challenging. So it is a possibility we will explore as the weather sneaks up on us here in Missouri. You know how it likes to be, all temperamental. But currently our policy is that up to 2 snow days will be absorbed into the schedule. I am going to put my email, or not the official email for Berea Academy into the chat over here at bereaacademystl@gmail.com so that you all know how to reach us. That comes to a main box that several of us have access to. And if we can't answer your questions, we'll send it on to the person who can and get that addressed for you and get your connections built where we need to. So at this point in our meeting here, we are talking about if you have questions. Before we get to that, this slide is helpfully pointing out, and one of my lovely supporters, I don't know if you all know Linda Farley. She is carrying us over the finish line this semester with enrollment and applications. We have never had a busier year for all of those things, and we would be lost without Linda. And she very helpfully and politely and kindly pointed out to me that I've been saying the wrong dates. I've been saying Tuesday, September 2nd, but Tuesday is September 1st. And that is actually the week before Labor Day, because Labor Day falls so late this year in the schools on the calendar schedule. So Tuesday, September 1st, Wednesday, September 2nd, and Thursday, September 3rd are going to be our first week of classes. Now, as far as Q&A, there is a question about outside classes and will there be a list available. Some of it's going to be flexible. It'll be up to the teachers, but some of it is also dependent on the students involved. If you have a student who, for whatever reason, outdoors is not a good setting for them, maybe it's too much sensory input, maybe it's allergies, whatever that is, communicate that with your teacher, please, because we do not want to cause harm to your student in an effort to create a better experience. So, and as Ariana explained, the classes, you know, also depend on things like weather, that sort of thing would be great. And so one of the other things that I would encourage you to consider is to equip your student with a couple of extra items, maybe a little portable blanket, you know, just big enough for them to sit on that they can shove in a bag if they do go outside, or maybe an umbrella if they are particularly sun sensitive, or sunglasses, that sort of thing. You might consider equipping your students with that opportunity. But if there is anything that, you know, would prevent your student from having a positive experience outdoors, please let us know. And then also, now we have a question about apps downloading. The biggest app that you will be downloading and adding to your phone is our campus screening app. Judy, do you want to talk about that again for a minute? Oh, it looks like Judy's.
Okay.
Oh, there she is.
My little device can look at chat or look at the video side, but it cannot do both simultaneously. The question was about our screening app, is that correct?
What apps are we going to be downloading and using now? And I think the first one for conversation is the screening app.
Yes, so it's called Campus Screen. It is an app that is put together by Stanford University and is being used by a lot of the colleges and universities nationwide. I first became familiar with it because it is the same screening app that Missouri S&T is using, and my son is an alumni there. In the Android Play Store, if you just look up Campus Screen Everdum, E-V-E-R-D-U-M, you will see it pop up. The icon is a blue owl. And this screening app is meant for daily use anytime that you come on campus. To run through the screening takes 30 seconds or less, assuming that you have previously taken your temperature so that you can honestly and accurately answer the question about temperatures. The app records the data of your screen on your device. It does not send the data to any third-party source. It does not send the data to us, but you will have a history of the screens that were completed and the responses that you gave to each of those items. So that is the easiest way for you to do the campus screening on your end. If you are a family that does not use smartphones or don't have access to that app technology, we can easily provide you a copy of the same questions that are on the screen. That's not a problem, just let us know. I believe that if you look in the chat, Ariana has put a link to the app there, so that's wonderful. Other than that, for apps that you need to download, I would ask the teacher. So our online gradebook does not have an app. ThinkWave is only something that you can use inside of a browser, so there's no app there. Slack, which is our workspace software that you can use, can be used with an app. So if you like to be able to access the homework emails or communicate with your teacher on your phone or your portable device, then you can download the free app that is called Slack, S-L-A-C-K. However, you don't have to use it on your device. It also can be used through a browser on your computer. So that is your personal preference. There are a few teachers that have activities that they like to use as part of their learning experience that do require the downloading of an app or the use of that same software in a browser. I would ask teacher by teacher. For example, Senora Steen does a lot of Kahoot activities, and so she would ask her students to download or have accessible on an internet capable device, Kahoot, K-A-H-O-O-T, but that is really a teacher by teacher question. For the specifics. For the whole academy, what we want is the screening app. I would also like to just go backwards just a minute and talk a little bit to see if I can summarize what is the policy regarding COVID and people that enter campus. So anyone who is affiliated with Berea in any capacity, whether it is a student or an administration member or a teaching staff member or an adult, anyone at all, if they are going to be on our campus, they will need to have screened or get screened immediately by the door monitor. They will have to be considered essential for the services. So they have to have a specific purpose for being on campus that is considered essential, which is why we cannot have parents just hanging around the building. And if a parent is coming in to assist in a volunteer capacity, they have a specific purpose so that consideration of essential is there. If you're coming in to be a substitute teacher, that is considered essential. If you're coming in because you want to chat with your friend, unfortunately for right now, that is not considered essential. So everybody has to be screened. Everybody has to be considered essential. And everybody is going to have to have a face covering of some sort or a specific medical exemption that allows them to not use the government restricted face covering mandates. So a face mask, a face shield, is like the teachers with the shield with the guard along the bottom still counts as the same as a face mask. And the neck thingy, I don't know what that's called, it comes up from your neck that covers the nose and mouth. All of those things would be okay, but we cannot have anyone who is inside of the building who is not face covered unless they have that specific exemption. And the exemption is for a medical reason or a sensory reason. So it's a very broad exemption, but those are the guidelines of what we need to have there. So I know people are trying to pin down exactly what we're saying. As of today, everybody in the building who is of age 5 and up has to be screened, essential, and their face has to be covered, nose and mouth, in some way.
Thank you for clarifying that for us, Judy. To address Nancy's question about the chat, we are encouraging parents to go ahead and do a drop-off at the door. Even for younger students, there'll be a teen volunteer who'll be able to escort them to class. However, on the first day of class, please feel essential to escort your student to the class that day. Do not linger in the building. You must wear a face covering the entire time that you have been in the building. And please, if you do desire to walk your student to the class, please consider arriving a few minutes early so that we can manage the various screenings at the door, and then consider leaving them at the waiting area before their classroom rather than, and do not enter the classroom itself. Okay. Does the student need to show the screening app results in order to enter the building? Yes, Judy.
Sorry, I just wanted to add, at least for the first class of the day, for the first week of school, assuming that the weather is going to cooperate with us, we are going to have the teachers for that first hour outdoors, and they are going to be meeting their class outdoors, and the teacher is going to be leading them into the building for the beginning of that day. So if your student is arriving early in the morning, the teacher is going to be giving that guided tour to the classroom. If they're arriving later on in the day, however, then the decision of the parent whether or not they want to try to walk their student to the class that first time, or whether or not we can have a Berea staff person help the student get where they need to go would apply.
Thank you for clarifying. I appreciate that. Do you want to handle the next question as well? You get to talk this time.
I don't know. What is the next question? I can't see my chat.
Does the student need to show the screening app results in order to enter the building?
No, they do not, but they need to verbally respond to the door monitor when they say, hey, have you screened today? A yes would be sufficient.
Excellent. I love it. If anyone else has any questions, feel free to type them in the chat. That's the easiest way, but also you can use the raising hand feature as appropriate. I am flipping through to try to keep track of who has a need here. And then, as always, you can reach me at bereaacademystl.com, which I'm going to type over here in the chat again. bereaacademystl@gmail.com. And so using that email address is actually much easier than me giving you my personal address, because my personal address box gets ridiculously slammed with other things not related to Berea. So if you can email us at bereaacademystl@gmail.com, that is actually the easiest way for us to get in touch with you. This is a good point. Yes, Carrie mentions for people that have difficulty verbalizing, whatever reason that is, a nod is an acceptable answer to the screening question.
Beth, I saw another question in there about whether or not students are going to be allowed to remove their face coverings once they are seated in the classroom. And this is another situation where we have not changed what we wanted to have happen, but the county has changed the restrictions. So can you explain that part of the face mask policy, please?
Yes, and thank you for seeing that. I had missed that question and comment. Unfortunately, the answer is yes. Students will need to remain with a face covering while they are inside the classroom. There are two exceptions. One is if you have a medical or sensory exemption to wearing a face covering. The second is that if class is moved outdoors and the students are socially distant 6 feet apart. In that case, they can remove any face covering. And this is, again, not Berea and not our preference. We very much value the importance of face-to-face communication and all of the little micro expressions that happen throughout this whole experience. And the county guidelines have tied our hands regarding this. If we wish to open in-person classes, this is the direction that we must go at this time. However, I invite all of you to stand in prayer with us that the restrictions will ease, that we will be able to change this dynamic very quickly, and that it does not and will not interfere with Berea throughout the year ongoing. Okay, so the campus screening app, what's the point? Your student will actually be verbally asked, have you screened today? Your student will not be asked the screening questions. Do they have a fever? Do they have a cough? I don't know, if they traveled out of the country in the last 24 hours, I need to review all the questions, obviously. They'll not be asked the questions. They will be asked, have you done the screening? And if the answer is no, then we can do the questions. But if the answer is yes, then we can give a thumbs up and it's great. And we'll do the temperature check as well. And the temperature check is related to the increased stricter guidelines that went into effect today. So you do not have to use the Campus Screen app. You can also just use a paper list of questions. Your student can be specifically asked those questions upon their arrival. And a non-verbal nod to indicate yes, or a other nonverbal indication, if you're able to say yes in ASL, those beginning ASL students, that would be acceptable as well. I hope that helps clarify that situation.
Beth, as an example, I'm going to go ahead and just mention the questions that are on the screen so people know exactly what it is. So on the first page, when you start the screen, it says select all that apply. Trouble breathing, persistent pain or pressure in the chest, new confusion, inability to wake or stay awake, bluish lips or face, or none of the above. So I click none of the above. And then the next screen says, have you recently started experiencing any of the following symptoms? Fever or chills, mild or moderate difficulty breathing, new or worsening cough, sustained loss of smell, taste, or appetite, sore throat, vomiting or diarrhea, aching throughout the body, or none of the above. So if I click none of the above and I go to the next screen, the next question is, in the last 14 days, have you traveled internationally? And that's either a yes or no. So I have not traveled internationally. I click the next screen. In the last 14 days, have you had close contact within 6 feet of someone who is known to have the previous symptoms? And there is yes, but I was wearing a face mask. Yes, I was not wearing a face mask. I've been near someone who had the previous symptoms, but not within 6 feet. Or no, I have not been in contact with someone who had the previous symptoms. Or there is an I don't know response there, and that's it. Finish, so I click the finish line, and then it says, I have my results, and my results say that I have a campus pass, and I am allowed to attend campus. So it really is quite simple and basic.
Excellent. Thank you, Judy, for sharing that with us and just, getting it out there. I want to say, as a representative of Berea, we move forward in obedience and in faith. Wearing a shield or a mask, whether that had been something the teacher had been planning or not, is not done out of fear. This is about upholding our commitment to our civil government, as well as walking in obedience for what God wants from Berea Academy. And I shared with a family today I was speaking with the mom in that family who shared with me that she has just been praying for the administration of Berea to stay focused on God's will. And I had a moment when I laughed a little bit and I said, you know, it would be so tempting to just say, you know what? I'm done. We're going online. It's not, we just can't do it. But consistently, as we have been seeking God's leadership in this issue, we have been directed to open the door to in-person classes. And while these regulations for face coverings are not the choice that we would make, it is the choice that we participate in, because doing so allows us to fulfill the vision that God has for Berea Academy. And so, if you need an exemption, that's okay. We understand that. And please know that these policies, these decisions are rooted in our desire to fulfill God's will for Berea Academy. He has not steered us wrong. As a matter of fact, He has poured blessings upon us at every turn. Someday we should just have a meeting where we get to talk about all of them. I'm privileged to know how many have come to us. And I look forward to continuing to find His provision and His blessing for us, because I know that we're walking in obedience to His goals for this work in this corner of His kingdom. Okay, that got very spirit-led for a moment. Thank you all. I appreciate it. Do we have other questions? Anybody want to throw something in there? Okay, I don't see any hands up. Oh, Judy, did you want to add something?
I just wanted to say, for the first week of class, it would be a good idea if you arrived probably 10 minutes earlier than you would on any other of the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, or 32nd weeks, because it will be slightly chaotic. There will be a lot of things happening. It's going to be the first time through the weekly routine for everyone. And if you arrive that 10 minutes earlier, that will allow you get lost time, that will allow us find your bag time, that will allow the teachers meet your student for the first time, that will allow transport from the outdoors to the indoors time. So if you could just plan to come a little bit early, I think that would be a great idea.
That is so true, and thank you for that. I know as a mom, I'm going to be like pushing everybody out the door. We're out of our routine, and we're looking forward to coming back in. But it's going to be a bit of a wake-up call for our family and their difficult scheduling. You all know how close I cut it on being on time most of the time. So I just want to say, oh, Judy, did you have an addition?
It just says the things are coming to my head. Also, as you're planning for that first week and second week before things become routine, keep in mind that whatever your child is bringing for lunch has to, number one, be something that does not require heating, because we are not going to be using the microwave right now for COVID reasons. Number two, it shouldn't be something that requires refrigeration, but if for some reason you need refrigeration for an item, make sure that the student tells the campus liaison that, oh, I need this, it has to be, medically chilled or whatever it might be, so that they can help you. Because otherwise the students will be carrying their lunch along with their books in either the backpack or book bag that they bring to class with them, or with the drawstring personalized backpack. We don't have a section where this is the lunch counter and you put your lunch box on the lunch counter. The students are going to be keeping all of their personal items on their person.
Judy is right. That some of the changes, we're not going to have the microwave downstairs like we've had in the past. And we're asking the students to do some responsible distancing while we're there. One of the key things that we're going to make sure that everyone sees with our student handbook is a change regarding cell phone usage in the building. At this time, we encourage our parents to talk to their students about the importance of not taking any photographs on campus. This is very, very important. Photographs have been problematic during this time of COVID and returning to school and all those sorts of things. And we're asking, our handbook policy is going to indicate no photography on campus. Unless you're in the photography class and you're walking outside to take a picture of those trees with your digital camera under your teacher guidelines. But we are not allowing photography on campus this year. It's not something that we generally allow anyway, because we do have select students who cannot be on digital media, and I know those, and our administration team knows those, but no one else does, because that's private information. But it's something that we're really going to be cracking down on this year. Also, each of your teachers have individual cell phone policies that will be coming in that through their syllabi to make sure that you're aware of. Kim, did you want to add on to that?
Yeah, on the photographs, that's I think that's a standard thing that's going on at most schools right now, is they're asking kids, because kids tend to take selfies, they tend to lean together and photograph themselves cuddling. And so there's kind of my kids are listening to 80s music in the background, so I'm trying to turn Jesse's girl, you hear. But anyway, they're encouraging kids around, a lot of districts, just cell phones tend to get shared. They pass them around to show pictures and things like that. So I think that's where that comes from also. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
Thank you, Kim. And one of the things that we'll be talking about too is that teachers who traditionally use a cell phone graveyard situation will need to adjust, because we cannot have all of the different students in your classes reaching into the same graveyard thing. And so that'll be something that'll be kind of changing. Miss Jess wants to know about photographing activities to share with on Slack. Those will be some teacher guidelines that we'll hammer out and get to you guys within the next week. What would be allowed, what wouldn't be allowed. We would love to continue to provide some official Berea photographs of those students for doing their responsible social distancing. Especially Miss Jess's students get to have a yoga mat and a little lap desk as their workstations, and it's going to be fabulous. So we're going to be making those amendments as we go through this week.
And I would just like to add too that the restriction on cell phone usage by students on campus is going to allow more freedom to the families, not less. What we would not want to see happen is social media show pictures of Berea students looking like they are unmasked and looking like they are not following COVID guidelines, and becoming a public relations spectacle, a debacle that we would have to deal with. And so if we can keep what happens with Berea inside of Berea, that will give you the maximum amount of freedom and flexibility to do the best learning environment possible that is legal. So we are going to follow the restrictions, but also does not put us up to undue scrutiny. We don't want outsiders evaluating, judging, and condemning a positive learning environment because of how it might or might not look on somebody's photograph. So please see this photograph ruling policy as a way to increase your freedom, not decrease your self-expression.
Yes, absolutely. And again, that reminder that this isn't about fear. This is just about wisdom regarding the current situation and doing our best to navigate it as we can. Kim made a good point that I hadn't even thought about at all. One of the things I see students pass back and forth more than anything else is a cell phone. And I didn't even think about that. I'm thinking about limiting paper and, sharing pencils and things like that, because I'm old And that's my student experience. But young people these days pass that cell phone around without any real thought. And so that's the sort of activity that we also want to make sure that we're impacting within our community, acting wisely within the restrictions as we can.